Have you ever stopped to consider that after 40, life can transform faster than you imagine? Seem impossible? Well, I discovered that everything you want already exists, vibrating at a specific frequency. You don't need to chase money, health, or relationships. You need to become compatible with them. Sound absurd? I thought so too, until I realized I was vibrating at the wrong frequency. Everything you desire, money, health, freedom, a fulfilling relationship, isn't a distant object. It's a frequency. Once you understand that each desire has its own vibration and that we ourselves emit a frequency, change ceases to be magical and becomes predictable. Energy attracts energy. If you're on the same frequency as what you desire, it practically draws near by law. I know this sounds strange, and herein lies the contradiction that paralyzes so many after 40. I'm too late. This isn't for me. My past defines me. These aren't facts. They're paradigms, old programs installed in our subconscious since childhood. And it's this programming that dictates the frequency you radiate, not your age. The first step is to confront your current results, how much you earn, how you sleep at night, the kind of conversations you have about money. Results reveal the frequency you're offering the world. I vividly recall the turning point. I earned very little, owed more than I earned, and lived obsessed with bills, placing me in a frequency of scarcity. A man sat with me, made me list my results, and asked me to choose a goal, write it on a card and read it regularly. It seemed ridiculous at first, like a trick, but I started reading it daily. Suddenly, I began to notice opportunities that had previously gone unnoticed. I borrowed $1,000 to buy buckets and mops. I started cleaning an office for small amounts. In less than 5 years, that grew into contracts across multiple cities. It wasn't luck, it was a frequency shift accompanied by action. Now, how to apply this to your life today without the fluff. First, stop defining your goal as escaping the problem, e.g., paying off debts. This keeps you trapped in the problem's vibration. Instead, decide what you want to attract, a clear, fixed value, a specific income, a lifestyle, a health routine. Write it on a card, clear goal, target date, and read it 3 times a day. And then combine this visualization with practical planning. Imagine the final result, identify the real obstacles that will appear, and build intentions like, if X happens, then I will do Y. This combination, future visualization, plus obstacle identification, plus action plan, significantly increases the likelihood of you moving effectively toward your goal. Literature on mental contrasting and implementation intentions shows that this practice transforms empty fantasy into concrete and persistent behavior. If you're thinking, but visualization is just daydreaming, here's the grounded truth. Daydreaming without a map doesn't change results. Daydreaming with a map does. Experiments show that imagining the process, how I will study, how I will call clients, how I will organize my finances, reduces anxiety and increases action. It's not magic, it's mental preparation for action. Therefore, combine feeling as if you already have it, clarity, written goal, and a roadmap, concrete steps and deadlines. Don't ignore the serious side. Financial worries affect mental health. Recent studies link strong financial worry and stress with a higher risk of depression and anxiety. This explains why, when you live in the frequency of worry, decisions become clouded, energy dips, and opportunities pass unseen. Reprogramming your frequency isn't escapism. It's a strategy to reduce the internal noise that blocks reasoning and action. Let's move to practical steps, applicable for those over 40 with busy routines. 1. 30-minute inventory. List income, expenses, and emotions that arise when you see your bank statement. 2. Choose a specific financial goal, e.g., $1,000 monthly in 12 months, or reduce debts. by 50% in 9 months. 3. Write it on a card and read it 3 times a day. 4. Do mental contrasting. Imagine the desired future, then imagine the 3 biggest real obstacles. 5. Create 2 to 3 if-then implementations. Example: if I receive an offer for extra work, then I will accept only if I can allocate 30% for investment. 6. Block 20 minutes daily for an action that advances your goal, researching clients, selling something, learning a skill. 7. Filter your environment. Reduce consumption of news and conversations that reinforce scarcity. The subconscious accepts everything you feed it. These steps are small, but they align thought, emotion, and behavior, the triad that changes frequency. If you need proof that others have practiced something similar and transformed their lives, consider public figures who have openly discussed using visualization and clear goals as part of their journey. Jim Carrey, for example, talked about writing a check to himself as an exercise in clarity and commitment, and uses this story to remind us that visualization must be accompanied by intense work. I'm not saying the check is a magic recipe. I'm saying that creating images so vivid that your brain recognizes them and then acting on them works for many. Practical challenge, let's do it together. 21 days to change your frequency. Day 1. Write your specific goal on a card. Days 1 through 21. Read it 3 times a day. Every day, do mental contrasting for 5 minutes. Visualize the result and then visualize an obstacle and an action to overcome it. Week 1. Eliminate consumption of negative news for 7 days. Week 2. Block 20 minutes a day for an action that advances your goal. At the end of 21 days, evaluate your concrete results and adjust. It's not a promise of instant wealth. It's an experiment in reprogramming your frequency with methodology. Science shows that combining visualization with action plans is far more effective than just fantasizing. Combine this with discipline, and you'll have new opportunities appearing because your attention has begun to see them. In short, the discovery is simple, but it requires practical courage. You are not trapped by your age or your past. You are trapped by what you have thought and repeated, and that can be changed. Adjust your frequency with clarity, feeling, and action. Start with the card, do the mental contrasting, and take small daily steps, and watch how the world begins to respond differently. Deciding is the turning point. There's a profound difference between wanting something and deciding to have it as inevitable. And that difference is the energy you begin to emit. After 40, many confuse experience with immobility. I know too much to start over. I don't have time. What if it goes wrong? These aren't rational reasons. They're excuses that protect a comfort zone built over decades. The truth is simple and direct. Conscious decision cuts through the noise of indecision, concentrates attention, and puts your whole life, thought, emotion, and action in the same direction. Without decision, all energy dissipates. With decision, energy becomes focus and creates real movement. When I talk about deciding, I'm not talking about a vague wish. I'm talking about a declaration you feel in your body that you write down, and that begins to work for you like a beacon. I remember the day I made a decision that would change the course of my life. I decided to truly study what others already knew. I didn't come from a sophisticated academic background. I had a history of sporadic jobs and little confidence. Making the decision to learn and not just thinking I should was the first step. I committed to reading a book every day, to studying what was shown to me. It became a routine, not just a thought. Over time, this decision to self-educate transformed my way of seeing opportunities, my repertoire of action, and consequently, my results. The decision to study needed to be made several times a day in the first few months, until it became a habit and began to operate by default. This process isn't mystical, it's discipline applied to the mind. What are the fears that most hinder decision-making after 40? Fear of making mistakes and losing what has already been achieved. Fear of looking ridiculous when starting over. Fear of exposing weaknesses. Fear of failing due to lack of time. Ask yourself, who gains anything by keeping fear as an advisor? No one. Conscious decision acts as a firewall against these fears. It doesn't eliminate them, but reduces them to minor noises because your priority changes. When you decide with clarity and firmness, the mind begins to seek useful information. Intuition sharpens, and doors that once seemed closed begin to open. How do you decide in practice? First, formulate the decision in positive terms, in the present and with a deadline. I decide, starting today, to increase my income by $1,000 by December 31st, 2025, or I decide to regain my health and walk for 30 minutes a day for 90 days. Writing. The decision materializes the commitment. It's not empty symbolism, it's a trigger that tells your subconscious, attention, this is a priority. Second, reduce inertia with immediate action. Decision without quick action becomes a dead intention. If your decision is related to money, your first action could be opening a spreadsheet and noting 3 steps that move your income, or calling a contact, or sending a proposal email, something small but concrete that you do in the next 24 hours. Third, protect the decision with a public commitment or with an accountability partner. The probability of execution increases when someone else notices that you have taken a stand. Also use the if-then weapon. Decision isn't naivete, it's preparation. Plan ahead for obstacles. If I hesitate to start, I'll call my accountability partner and share how I feel. If I'm tempted to overspend, I'll wait 48 hours and review my goal. These pre-formulated intentions reduce resistance in the moment, transforming choice into reflex. There's a science behind this. Creating clear decisions and converting intention into specific actions shifts your brain's allocation of attention. Instead of wasting energy on indecision, you direct it toward compatible opportunities. Attention becomes a selective tool, and the world responds because you begin to see small openings you previously ignored. This isn't mysticism. It's neuropsychology applied to practical life. Concrete examples for those 40 and over needing to decide effectively. If the decision is professional, spend 60 minutes today updating a resume, calling 3 former colleagues and sending 2 proposals. If it's financial, set a concrete savings or investment goal and automate a monthly transfer. If it's health-related, schedule that first appointment or prepay for fitness classes. The sunk cost creates commitment. Adjust the action size to your available time. Those working full-time can break the decision into 10 to 20-minute daily micro-tasks. Deciding doesn't require instant revolutions. It requires steps that, cumulatively, are inexorable. Public examples illustrate the power of decision-making. Consider those who acted early and decisively. Industry-changing leaders didn't hesitate to make what seemed risky decisions at the time. Conversely, there are iconic examples of failure through indecision. Giant companies that, faced with digital disruption, delayed adapting and lost market share. Kodak's historical example is a clear lesson. Failing to decide in time can mean losing decades of accumulated advantages. This isn't just about business. It's a metaphor for personal life. Postponing critical decisions is often the most efficient way to lose what you already have. What about emotional resistance? It's normal and will arise. Resistance manifests as excuses, confusion, or "I don't know where to begin." Consider it the price of transformation. Keep a daily log. What decision did I make today? What action did I take? The log creates feedback and generates pride, fueling the next decision. Small victories build confidence. Confidence sustains bigger decisions. I propose a practical, straightforward exercise, the 14-day decision challenge. Day 1. Write down a clear, dated decision. Day 2. Take the first action that moves that decision forward, anything requiring less than 24 hours. Days 3 through 14. Each day, take at least one micro-action advancing the decision. If an obstacle arises, write an if-then plan and implement it. At the end of day 14, take stock. How much has been resolved? What doors have opened? What new options have emerged? If nothing changed, review the decision. Perhaps it needs to be more specific. Perhaps it needs a deadline. Perhaps it needs an accountability partner. Failure rarely signals inability. It almost always signals imprecision in the decision or lack of immediate execution. Deciding is a muscle strengthened through use. After 40, there's an advantage. You have experience, you've seen cycles repeat, you've learned what you don't want. Use that. Transform regret into fuel. Instead of thinking, why didn't I decide sooner? Say, the best use of the past is to teach me where to direct my decision now. What separates those who achieve from those who admire is invariably a series of decisions made and fulfilled. Make your first decision today, one you can prove, with an action in the next 24 hours, and watch how the world starts to act in sync. Paradigms are like invisible tracks on which your life runs, and the worst part is that most people don't even know they're on these tracks. They form when we least expect it, from what we hear, what we saw at home, what was repeated to us as children. They take root in the subconscious and then dictate routines, choices, and above all, the results we come to accept as normal. Have you noticed that no matter how hard you try, certain patterns keep repeating? That's not fate, it's programming. I clearly remember the day a man named Leland sat with me and began to show me the inner workings of the machine. He drew a circle and said, "Here's the mind. The top is the conscious, the bottom is the subconscious, here's the body." At the time, it didn't seem extraordinary, but later, looking at that drawing, I felt a profound emotion realizing my whole life had been guided by scripts I hadn't even written. I felt sadness for all the time lost reacting to others' programs, and that propelled me to act. The reaction wasn't just intellectual, it was physical. My chest tightened, my eyes burned. That sadness was a signal that something needed to die for something new to be born. Identifying paradigms requires brutal honesty. Start by looking at your results as evidence. Your finances, your health, your relationships. Ask yourself, what phrases do I repeat most often about money? I never have enough. Money is dirty. I'm not good with business. These phrases aren't just thoughts, they're commands running in the background. Another effective method, observe your emotional autopilots, the automatic reactions that arise when you receive a bill, when someone disagrees with you, when an opportunity arises. These triggers reveal hidden programming. If you fear earning more than losing, write it down. It's a specific paradigm that needs to be dismantled. Changing paradigms is a process with clear steps. It's not mysticism, it's systematic training. I'll describe a practical protocol I've tested that transforms ingrained beliefs into leverage tools. Take each step honestly and record everything. Paradigm inventory, 30 to 60 minutes. List repeated phrases about money, success, love, health. For each phrase, write, "When I think about this, I..." Reaction behavior. X. When I think about earning more, I hesitate and avoid opportunities. This brings to light what was operating in the shadows. Seek the origin. Quick research. Ask yourself, where did this idea come from? Many come from parents, school, peers. Knowing the origin reduces the belief's emotional power. It's not my innate truth. It's a learned program, empirical testing, behavioral experiment. Choose a limiting belief and plan a small 7 to 14-day experiment to contradict it. If you believe, "I can't speak in public," offer to speak for 5 minutes in a small group. Goal: collect contradictory evidence the subconscious hadn't considered. Find contrary evidence, gather facts. List 5 real people who achieved what you believe to be impossible. This can include modest cases. It doesn't have to be celebrities. The mind needs data. Show it that real exceptions exist. Rewrite the internal story. Concrete image. Create a vivid scene in your mind where you already live the new reality. Feel the pleasure, the relief, even the sensory details. Record this scene and replay it daily, especially upon waking and before sleeping. The subconscious accepts vivid images as real. Emotional repetition plus behavioral signature. Combine affirmations, short, present tense, with repeated behavior. For example, affirming, "I am competent to generate income for 60 seconds," and then sending a business proposal. Emotion provides torque, action provides proof. Environmental alteration. Paradigms reinforce themselves through environment and company. Temporarily remove sources reinforcing old beliefs, friends who mock your ambitions, TV programs that feed fear, conversation groups that pride themselves on scarcity. Replace them with reading, people, and content that model what you want to be. Mentorship and accountability. Find someone already living the paradigm you desire. It doesn't always have to be famous. A local mentor, a colleague, a coach. Make a small goal public and ask for accountability. Exposure reduces procrastination. All this is supported by something science calls neuroplasticity. The brain remodels its connections through repetition and emotion. Bandura showed that self-efficacy shapes action. Seligman warned that a sense of control is linked to mental health. In practical terms, by repeatedly practicing new actions, you literally create neural pathways that favor different behaviors. This takes time, but it's not eternal. 30 to 90 days of consistent practice already show real change in many cases. Predictable risks and resistances exist. Old programming will try to reclaim its territory in the form of proofs, small failures used as justification, social sabotage, "you're changing too much," and emotional fatigue. When this happens, don't enter the cycle of self-criticism. Document it, adjust the experiment, and continue. Use if-then for these relapses. If I feel discouraged, then I will review 3 small proofs of progress and call my accountability partner. This transforms emotion into protocol. Public examples help understand the dynamic. Michael Phelps, for example, practiced the detailed mental process of imagining each race before entering the pool. Mental rehearsal that altered his performance. In contrast, consider companies like Blockbuster. A business paradigm of traditional rental model blinded it to the new digital reality and cost it the market. The lesson is clear for individuals and organizations alike. Those who fail to revise their paradigms pay a real price. Now, a practical challenge for those who want to break free from the prison of paradigm, the 30-day reprogramming challenge. Day 1. Take inventory and choose one limiting belief to work on. Days 2 through 7. Conduct a daily behavioral experiment, even a small one, that contradicts that belief. Days 8 through 21. Practice vivid imagery twice a day and perform at least one action that validates the new belief. Days 22 through 30. Increase the scale of the action, a phone call, a meeting, a proposal, and share your progress with an accountability partner. Record everything in a notebook, evidence, emotions, obstacles overcome. On day 31, evaluate. Which belief lost strength? What new evidence do you have? Adjust and repeat with another belief. Don't wait to feel secure before acting. Security arises when you act and accumulate proof. Paradigms don't break from intellectual punishment. They are replaced by new habits, new images, and new evidence. When I realized this, I cried with regret for the time wasted, and then I cried with relief to see that I could rewrite my destiny. That sadness became fuel. May yours become fuel as well. Everything you call money is, first and foremost, an energy pattern, a frequency. Energy attracts energy. When you adjust your internal dialogue, your body and your actions to vibrate at the same frequency as abundance, money ceases to be a distant intruder and begins to circulate around you naturally. This isn't empty poetry, it's the practical logic of attraction in action. So I ask, what do you usually feel when you think about money? Fear, guilt, temporary relief when a bill is paid, only to have that old anxiety reappear. These emotions aren't neutral. They are bands tuned into your life's radio station, and as long as you play them, your antenna picks up only stations that play the same song. There's no use looking for new stations without first turning the dial on your inner radio. I learned this the hard way, and then the powerful way. When I was young, a thumb injury cut short my plans for technical studies. It wasn't just physical damage, it was a minor emotional catastrophe. I was directionless, accepting any job that came my way, and I lived for too long at the frequency of self-diminishment. For a time I felt shame, anger, and an almost comical urge to disappear. But that same anger, transformed into a decision, became fuel. Instead of hiding, I used that discomfort as leverage to change my vibration. I stopped saying I can't and started saying, how can I? The transformation began there, not because life became easier, but because I changed my frequency to see and act on opportunities that had previously seemed invisible. How to calibrate this frequency of money practically and directly? First, feeling before method. It's not enough to list numbers. You need to feel for 60 to 90 seconds that the money you desire is already real. Like when someone you love walks into the room and your body reacts. Close your eyes and feel the relief, the freedom, the smell, even the sound of the things that money will bring. This instructs your subconscious to accept the possibility. Then the conscious mind needs a map. Define a concrete value and a deadline. Write it as if it were already happening, with details. Receiving $1,000 per month starting on the 1st of January. And read it aloud. The combination of feeling and specificity is the bridge between desire and reality. Next, embed behavior that corresponds to the frequency. 3 practices I use and recommend, tested on people with busy routines and responsibilities. In other words, for those over 40. A 7-minute morning ritual. 1 minute of deep breathing and upright posture, 2 minutes of gratitude for 3 real financial items, even small ones. 3 minutes of sensory visualization of the financial goal already achieved. 1 minute to say a short and practical affirmation aloud. I am open to opportunities that generate $1,000 per month. And finally, immediately write down 1 10-minute action you will take that day to move forward. Small repeated practices alter the energetic signature of your day. Daily evidence practice, magnetic record. Write down all incoming money and all signs of progress, however small. This trains your brain to perceive gain instead of scarcity. When you see proof, your vibration rises. When you only notice the debit, the vibration falls. What you've just heard isn't just a collection of ideas, it's an invitation to rewrite your own internal pattern. The most important point is simple and powerful. Everything begins with the frequency you choose to live in now. By adjusting thoughts, emotions, and actions to the level of what you desire and not what you fear, you put yourself on the inevitable path of growth, freedom, and abundance. And that's just the beginning. The next video appearing on your screen will take you 1 step further on this journey, helping you become at least 1% better than you are today. Thank you for being here with me, for dedicating this time to evolving. I'll see you in the next video so we can move forward together on this path.